What is going on, guys? Jesse here. So these are the brand new Gen 3 AirPods. These are the Gen 2 AirPods. And these are the AirPods Pro. And today we're going to be comparing these three earbuds against each other. So AirPods Gen 2 and Pro we're pretty familiar with at this point, but now with the introduction of the new 3rd gen AirPods, the lineup has gotten a little bit more confusing, and a lot of you guys may be wondering what the differences are, should you upgrade, and how these stack up against each other. So today in this video, I'm going to be comparing these three earbuds against each other, and hopefully by the end, you'll have a better idea which one of these, if any, are the best choice for you. Alright, starting with the design, the new 3rd gen AirPods basically look like a pair of AirPods Pro, but without the rubber tips. So when they're in your ear, they actually look pretty much identical. And I guess an unintended consequence of that is that the 2nd generation AirPods are now the cheap pair. So if that matters to you, just wanted to put that out there. I think the biggest consequence of this design choice though has to be with the fit. So being what is essentially just the AirPods Pro without the rubber tips, that's pretty much what they feel like in your ear as well. So if you have a pair of AirPods Pro and you want to know what these are going to feel like in your ear, just take the rubber tips off and you'll have a pretty good idea. The AirPods Gen 2 on the other hand are just kind of doing their own thing, and these are notoriously hit or miss for certain people in the fit department. For me personally, they work fine, but I really can't say with any degree of certainty whether or not the new 3rd gen AirPods will work for you if the 2nd generations didn't, because everyone's ears are just different and you just really need to try them out for yourself. But let's just say they all fit your ears. In that case, I think it just comes down to whether or not you like the feeling of rubber tips. Personally, I prefer the rubber tips just because they feel a little bit more secure, and the AirPods Pro actually have built-in vents to relieve pressure and does a better job than other rubber-tipped earbuds at reducing that plugged up feeling. If you aren't a fan of the rubber tips though, I think the 3rd gen AirPods are a little bit more comfortable just because the stems are shorter. This may not sound like a big deal, but the longer stems on the old AirPods kind of poke you below the ears, and it's just a really strange sensation once you're used to the newer designs. Also, if you plan on using these to work out, the AirPods Gen 2 are the only one out of the three that don't have any type of water or sweat resistance, so definitely something to consider. Now moving on to battery life, with the Gen 2 AirPods you get 5 hours of playtime in the buds with around 4 more charges in the case. With the Gen 3 AirPods you get 6 hours of playtime in the buds with about 5 more charges in the case, and with the AirPods Pro you get 4.5 hours of playtime in the buds with about 5 charges in the case. So on paper, obviously the Gen 3 AirPods are the best, but I would say in the real world, all of these are close enough that it really shouldn't be the deciding factor, and I find them all to be pretty good. As far as getting them charged back up, the AirPods Pro and Gen 3 AirPods both support MagSafe, wireless charging, and Lightning. Although for the Pros, the MagSafe compatibility was just added, so if you buy them used or have an older pair, it may not have it. Meanwhile, the 2nd generation AirPods can only be charged up via Lightning, which I just find to be really inconvenient. Okay, now let's talk about features. So starting at the bottom, the Gen 2 AirPods are pretty much the most bare bones out of the three. You get automatic pairing with an iPhone when you take it out of the box, automatic play pause when you take them in and out of your ears, Siri enabled, and you get some tap controls on the buds that I find to be pretty finicky. So pretty basic in the features department, but it gets the job done. Once you move up to the Gen 3s though, you start to see some cooler stuff show up. So you get everything that was on the 2nd gens, but then you add in these force touch controls in place of the tapping, and I found these to be the most reliable and least finicky media controls that I've tried in any earbud. Also, you get spatial audio, which just essentially gives you a surround sound like experience in your earbuds, which if you haven't tried it before, it's actually really cool. And finally, we get to the Pros, and again, you get everything that you had with the Gen 2s and Gen 3s, but now add in active noise cancellation, which I think is an especially big deal considering that the other two AirPods don't have any noise isolation, active or passive. They basically just let all of the sound in and out, so whenever I wear these out in noisier environments, I always feel like I have to crank up whatever I'm listening to actually hear it, which is pretty bad for your ears. With the Pros though, that's not an issue. The ANC does a great job in blocking out the outside world, and if you still want to be aware of your surroundings, then you can actually just turn on transparency mode, which basically just works like ANC but in reverse. And the AirPods Pro still have among the best quality transparency modes that I've ever heard in any earbud. So you really get the best of both worlds here. Anyways, next up, here's a sound test of the mic so you can get an idea of what these guys are going to sound like in calls.
The audio you're hearing now is coming from the AirPods Gen 2. Let me know what you think. And now the audio you're hearing is coming from the AirPods Gen 3. Let me know what you think. And now finally, here is the audio from the mics on the AirPods Pro. Let me know what you think.
Okay, so that was the mic test. Let me know which one you guys thought sounded the best in the comments. But finally, that brings us to what you've all probably been waiting for, sound. So I think it's no secret that the AirPods Gen 2 don't sound the best. Not a lot of bass and overall just kind of tinny sounding. But if you're someone who doesn't care about that kind of stuff, these will get the job done. They are in fact functional earbuds. The AirPods Pro on the other hand sound much better with a whole new redesigned set of drivers and an adaptive EQ that I'm not entirely sure does all that much, but they do still sound much better all around. With the seal design, you just get much better bass response, and although it's still very mid-forward, the sound I think is fairly well balanced. However, it is still worth noting though that this is definitely not going to blow your mind in terms of audio quality. I'm just saying within the context of these three earbuds, the AirPods Pro don't sound too bad. So with the AirPods Gen 3, Apple has once again made a brand new set of drivers and an adaptive EQ, and the result is something that I think is between the Gen 2s and the Pros. Like better bass than the Gen 2s, but not quite as good as the Pros. And I think a lot of that has to do with the lack of the rubber tips, because when you don't have a good seal, you just end up losing a lot of bass response, and it ends up not sounding quite as good. So for audio quality, I would rank them like this, but I would say that they actually sound closer to the Gen 2s than the Pros, which was a little bit disappointing. But at the end of the day, which one of these should you guys get? Right off the bat, I just want to put it out there that now that the AirPods Gen 3 exist, I just don't really recommend the AirPods Gen 2 to pretty much anybody anymore. Like, unless you absolutely do not care about sound or features at all, and you just need a pair of Bluetooth earbuds for your iPhone that just work, I would not get these. Although if that is you, you're probably not watching this video anyways. But between the Gen 3 and the Pros, I would say that if you don't mind the feeling of rubber tips, I would still go for the Pros. The addition of the active noise cancellation is huge for me, and I think that alone makes these worth it. Especially considering that now that these have been out for a while, you can regularly find them on sale, and the price difference between these two is just really not that significant. So I think the AirPods Gen 3 are a great addition to the AirPods lineup for people who don't like the feeling of rubber tips in their ears, and you aren't giving up as many features as the Gen 2s for that fit. But overall, I would still go for the Pros. Anyways, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Remember to smash that like button, and if you enjoy content like this, think about subscribing and hitting the bell so you don't miss anything. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace!